Hi, my name is Kate Condon, and I'm continuing my vlogging for my work experience at Tosca this month. This week I'm going to talk about the first full dress rehearsal that we saw, and this was our second time seeing, so it was really interesting to see the differences between the first session and the second session. And yeah, I'm just going to talk about three categories: the changes in the general performance, how I related the show to my life this time, seeing the whole thing through, and specifically what the stage manager and the stage director were doing, because this is what I want to do after, so I was paying a ton of attention to them. Thanks. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is how I related it to my life. I have been around theater a lot, so I have quite an extensive background, and obviously it's something that's really important to me. That's why I'm doing this experience. But something I thought that was really impressive when watching this time is everyone is really professional, and since they know their stuff so well, which I talked about last time, work goes really quickly. Whereas in my rehearsals, we sit around, wait for people to remember their lines, the director is not really sure on where they want to move us, so it's a very slow process. With the opera, they were just banging out scenes, and it was really cool. I also thought it was really cool how close a family they are. You can tell that everyone there cares about each other and is striving towards one common goal together, which is really nice to see, and I think the arts is really special because it gives us that sense of community with working with other people that have such a passion and expertise in their own area. So that was really cool to see. Something that was kind of different for me is the assistant stage managers are doing the really hands-on stuff, and that's different for what I've seen, because I've done smaller theater companies where the stage manager is acting like the assistant stage managers here, where they're very hands-on. So for me, I'm not actually sure if I'd prefer to do assistant stage managing or stage managing, because I really like being down on the theater, working with the actors, making sure like the props are moving where they're supposed to. So I have to kind of decide on where I want to go with that. Personally, I am also in choir, so when I was listening to the singers, they're singing all their vowels correctly, and I don't know if this is a big thing for anything else, but like in my choir, we take forever because people are singing the wrong vowels at the wrong time, and they were all like hitting it stunningly. And obviously they're professional musicians who do this for a living, but I was just really impressed. I could hear the character motifs, and I kind of related that back to Tea, A Mirror of Soul, which I saw last year at the Queenie, and also Magic Flute, because it's really interesting to hear distinct characters and how different composers have used that element to kind of subconsciously convey characters, which I really relate well to. Another thing relating to choir is the singers, they emote with their faces, and a big thing about singing is to lift your eyebrows and be very expressive, and they do that so beautifully, so it's really exciting to watch exactly how they're doing things, so I really appreciated that. And lastly, my favorite musical personally is Les Mis, and Scarpia, who is the Lord Baron, evil main character who sings all the really dramatic stuff, and the police chief, reminds me a lot of Javert, which is really cool because I love them both, so it's really nice to see kind of how similar characters can be conveyed in different time periods and different situations. So the next thing that was really cool was the general changes and seeing the show for the first time in a rough draft. One thing that really struck me is seeing what was made changes on Tuesday and how seamlessly they were put into effect. And I know we had 3 days between, but it was still really cool to see how quick everyone, including the child actors, just picked it up, didn't need coaching, and it was a very fluid process, which was, we were able to see the final end goal a lot clearer, which was really cool. And because they're putting so much emotion into their work, Tosca is sung in Italian, but we are able to understand the gist of the play, and we understand that Tosca is crying for her dead lover who she's been deceived by Scarpia, and how excited and cheery and sad and horrible certain moments of the play are, the opera. And that's just really cool because you can tell that they love what they're doing and they take it really seriously, which makes you take it really seriously. So I'm just really excited to see the final dress rehearsal on the 24th. It's going to be a really cool experience, and I'm excited to see the difference between this first run-through to then. Another thing that was really cool was when there were changes that were needed, they happened very quickly, but the performers would ask for the changes. If they were doing something that felt awkward, or didn't look quite right, or wasn't good for their voice, or something like that, they would stop and say like, hey, I need to change this, which was really cool because they were taking charge of their situation, and I don't think in a lot of opera groups that they'd be able to have that flexibility or that trust to like be able to say, hey, I'm not comfortable or I need this to change. And I think the stage director would really appreciate that because he gets a lot of insight from them. So I just thought that was really cool that how they work together. And then the last little note that I saw was in a few cases performers forgot their cues for whatever reason or whatever, it wasn't a big deal, but other performers would actually cue them, and that means that they know the show basically. So imagine doing your role in this huge big opera and knowing everyone else's. So I was just really struck. There was a few times, I think it was Scarpia who cued one of his supers, one of the people that don't talk that were taking someone away as a guard or something, and he was just like, hey, you need to move on this one. It was very polite, but it was just really interesting to see how they trust each other enough and respect each other enough to say, hey, here's some help if you need it. So yeah, those were my general changes notes. So as for the stage managers and the stage directors, I am still totally in awe of their jobs. I think they do incredible work, and someday I aspire to be doing the type of work they are doing. But I saw some things in this rehearsal in particular I thought were really interesting. For this specific rehearsal, as I mentioned before, the stage director was really in the scenes and he was moving actors. Because the actors kind of knew more what they were doing this time around, he was very calm and he was sitting down, but he was still mouthing their parts, which I found really funny. Also, he still yells out notes about emotion. So say if they're not giving him enough sadness or happiness or any emotion really, he will tell them. He'll just yell it out as they're singing an aria or something like that. So I thought that was really cool. Some notes about the ASMs. They're the ones sitting at the back, like I said, and they're a bit more involved. What I thought was pretty cool is they change where they sit depending on where the biggest traffic of actors, or if there's like a huge entrance with someone, they'll make sure that they're in the correct position so they can locate everyone, which means they have to be really flexible and be able to move all their stuff at a moment's notice, which I think is really cool because their binders look ridiculous and wow. Another thing I thought that was really cool was this time around, because we had the singers that were singing a part off stage and the principals who were singing on stage, the people that were singing the chorus at the same time couldn't quite see the conductor. So there were two conductors going at once. There was one conductor at the front and there was one at the back doing like other stuff, but they were conducting in time and it fit together perfectly. But it just shows how in sync those two conductors need to be and how quickly and exactly the performers need to follow them and put all of their trust in that. So I thought that was really, really cool because two conductors, like that never happens. And they told us afterwards that that won't happen in an actual performance. There will be video monitors that you can see on either sides of the stage so that you'll be able to see one conductor, but I just thought that that was really impressive that they were able to do that. Something that looked a bit unfortunate or a bit stressful about this job was one of the first things I kind of saw that I was like, oh my. There was one scene where an actor didn't get cued quickly enough by the ASMs simply because they were so overwhelmed with cues. There was so much going on. But the director still got mad at the ASMs, which I thought was kind of weird because personally as an actor in smaller theater companies, I don't have anyone coming to get me. So it's very interesting how in opera the ASMs are dependent on a lot more. So I felt kind of bad for them because I didn't think it was their fault, but I think it's kind of a slightly different world than what I'm used to. So that was kind of a weird culture shocky thing that I thought was cool. And lastly, this is a small note about the music director and the assistant. What I saw was really cool. We don't have the full orchestra yet, but they were still making sounds. Like there's one scene where it's really important to show the drums, so they were making those drum noises as they were conducting, and it's just incredible their level of musicality and how much that they are able to achieve as a whole, which I thought was really cool. So that's all for this vlog. I hope that I've added new insight and helped kind of see behind the scenes stuff. Tomorrow is our 5-hour session and it's the first time the orchestra is with the musicians. I'm really stoked for it. I'm a bit nervous that it's going to be 5 hours, but I'm really excited to keep learning and I'm still so appreciative for this opportunity. And yeah, stay tuned. Thanks.